Hello, bonjour. Hello, everyone out there. Thank you for tuning in. This is episode 33 of Wine with Wanda on Instagram Live. Now, I've been on a little bit of hiatus since December, but I am back. I'm rested and ready to go. So, thank you all so much for supporting this journey. I just love staying connected to all of my wine colleagues and wine lovers and keeping this community of wine enthusiasts together. So I thought since this is the first Wine with Wanda Instagram Live of 2021, that I should make it festive and kick it off with some ooh la la. So what better way to do that than with champagne? And today the champagne that we're drinking is Champagne Delamotte. Founded in 1760, but more than 250 years of history, they are the fifth oldest champagne house. Pretty impressive. I mean, that puts them in a very esteemed company, that's for sure. And my special guest for this conversation will be Cristian Rimoldi, who is the house's export director. I'm going to bring Cristian on in a second, but of course we're going to have lively, sparkling conversation and drink some beautiful wine. So we have two of Delamotte's wines to sip today. We're going to have their Blanc de Blanc, 100% Chardonnay, always one of my favorite expressions of champagne. And that retails for about $90.99. I love it when they're very precise with the suggested prices. And then we also have the Delamotte Brut Rosé, which retails for $105.99. So, bonjour. I see some bonjours and some waves. I think we can add Christian now. Let's make sure that Instagram magic is working. And here we go. Sending. Hello, Vineyard Brands. Thank you for organizing this wonderful chat. Ah, and there he is. Hello. Hello. I see you, but I can't
Hello,
hear you.
Wanda.
Hi, Christian. How are
Hello.
you? Hi. How are you
Very
doing?
well. Thanks for having me. Nice. Very well. Thank you very much for having me. And it's great to meet you in this way.
Oh, I know. I think the one of the positive things of this lockdown is we're all making new friends on Instagram and meeting fellow wine lovers. So it's great.
And we could feel close to each other, even though we are far away. But that's great.
Absolutely. So
That's
before
great.
we get into the champagne, I was reading your bio, which is pretty fascinating. So you actually grew up in Argentina in La Pampa, and
Yes,
your grandparents were from Italy. So you definitely have some wine in your veins between the Italian culture and the Argentinian culture.
definitely. Yeah. Wine and gastronomy, it's part of my DNA. So since the beginning, since I was a child, we were like very close to the to this Italian tradition in gastronomy, and of course, the wine came through the Italian tradition, but also the Argentinian way of thinking the wine and doing the wine.
Wonderful. But I see you've spent, even before joining Delamotte, I didn't know that one could get an MBA focused on gastronomy and wine. Had I known
That's
that.
Yeah, that's marvelous. Yeah. When I decided to change from the automobile sector and go to this gastronomy, food and wine, I didn't know exactly what to follow. And I found this MBA, and that's great because you have all the luxury brands prospections and then development of new markets and then this food and wine focus. So it's great.
That's wonderful. So you've been with Delamotte for how long now? For how many years?
So I started with Delamotte and Salon in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I took the position, the actual position for the export division in at the beginning of the lockdown. It was last March.
Wow. Well, this, I would say, is a challenging time to be an export director.
Of course it is, yeah,
Yeah.
because it changed completely the way we worked with all these markets. For us, for Delamotte and for Salon, the export development is very important. It represents in terms of sales more than 75% for Delamotte and maybe 90% for Salon. So it's very important. We are present in 50 more than 50 countries
Oh, wow.
nowadays, and so we used to travel a lot. We used to travel 70% of our time being close to the markets and tasting the wines with our wine lovers, and so all that changed from one day to the other. So of course it was a challenge.
It's a challenge. Well, what's so interesting, I have a confession. Delamotte was actually a fairly new name to me, but the house has such a rich history. The fifth oldest in Champagne.
Yeah, founded in 1760. Can you imagine all the way that this house made, all the history that went through this family house business? It was founded at Reims at the beginning, and
Mm-hmm.
always they kept this family tradition. So it's still today, because even though we are part of Laurent Perrier group that maybe people knows,
Mm-hmm.
the three houses together, we work Salon and Delamotte, we work in a very independent way, and of course with Salon, which is our neighborhood in the same our neighbor, sorry, in the same neighborhood at Le
Okay.
Mesnil-sur-Rocher, and it's a brand new house because it was founded only in 1920s, so
Ah, it's a baby.
it's a baby, of course,
It's a
of
baby.
course it is.
So, when you're introducing Delamotte, how would you describe to someone, what is the style? What makes Delamotte distinctive from your other colleagues there in Champagne?
So what is interesting about Delamotte is that, of course, it has all this tradition inside because it founded in 1760s, one of the first champagne house. Of course, they traditionally made champagnes with a traditional blend, with a traditional perspective, with all the three grapes, as everybody knows, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay. But of course, when they moved to the house to Le Mesnil-sur-Rocher, they start working in a different way and being close to the Blanc de Blanc tradition also,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of new because we say that Aimé Salon, who was the owner of the Salon house, decided to make this particular wine made of 100% Chardonnay coming from the same Grand Cru village, Le Mesnil-sur-Rocher, and that broke in a way the tradition. And so, of course, as we work in synergy with Salon, we have a modern approach with all this Blanc de Blanc know-how that we have today, and of course, half of our production it's a traditional brut with the three grape variety blend, but then we have half of that with Blanc de Blanc and Blanc de Blanc non-vintage, the one that we
Okay.
are gonna taste today. Then
Yes.
we have a vintage also. The last one released is 2012, and
Oh,
uh, and then we have, of course, the rosé cuvée that we're gonna try today also. But of course, we have also something different for Delamotte, which is the Delamotte collection line that most of the people don't know. It's a black and gold label, metallic
oh,
label. And so they are old vintages that we release 10, 15 years after keeping that bottles in our cellars. And so for people to let them try 1999, 2002, 2004, that used to be released at normal vintage, at the current vintage. And now they have, with the late disgorgement, the possibility to taste again.
oh, that's fascinating. I love that. Before we get into the tasting, I want to talk a bit about, the mood of champagne, so much connected with celebration and festivity. I have found personally during these challenges of being shut down that champagne still feels appropriate, that it is that glimmer of hope and beauty and
Yeah.
joy. So for people who say, oh, now is not the time for champagne, what is your response to that?
Maybe it's the sparkling side of this wine. For me, champagne is before everything a wine. And it has to be a
Mm-hmm.
good wine at the beginning. So then you have, for me, champagne for every moment. I think that with the Lamotte and with the cuvées that we propose, you can have a champagne, a Delamotte for every moment of your life, of your day, maybe, of your week. So,
Yeah,
of course, you may have special celebrations, and of course, you can have a vintage cuvée, you can have something special, but then you can drink in your everyday meals. Why not? And for me, it's a
exactly.
gastronomy wine, and that's one of main points of the personality of Delamotte. We want to be a gastronomy wine.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think we should start. I'm assuming we're going to start with the Blanc de Blanc, correct? So I'm going to show the bottle again
Yes.
for anyone that's just joined. So this is their Blanc de Blanc non-vintage. In the US, it retails for about $90.99. Very precise.
That's
And
precise, yeah.
and I always love, a Blanc de Blanc, 100% Chardonnay. It's just such a beautiful expression of champagne. So tell us a little
It's
bit about the
it
Delamotte Blanc de Blanc.
it's interesting. Sometimes people don't know when we say Blanc de Blanc, we are talking about champagne, and it's
Hmm.
a champagne that is made 100% of Chardonnay. Of course, in this, we work only with Grand Village Cru, Grand Village villages, of course, Grand Cru villages, sorry,
Hmm.
but and so all of them are from the Côte de Blanc. So we are based at Le Mesnil, and then we have five other Grand Cru villages that are very close in Côte de Blanc. So, of course, the main characteristic of this Chardonnay is the minerality that
Yep.
you feel right away on your nose. And in this case, in this particular case, for this non-vintage, we are working with Le Mesnil, Avize, and Aucher, all these three Grand Cru villages that they are blended together. And of course, we even though we say it's non-vintage, we have a base wine that is a vintage wine from
Hmm.
2014 in this case,
Ah, okay.
2014, which is quite interesting because it's the vintage that we will probably release this year for Delamotte. So
Ah, okay.
2014 is it's a great vintage, and then we add to these wines that when they are very young, sometimes they are like difficult to drink, a little bit harsh in your palate, or sometimes the salinity gives you something special on your mouth, and so
Hmm.
we add a little bit of reserve wines. In this case, we have between 10 and 15% of
Okay.
reserve ones from previous years, 2012, 2013 in this case. And we need to add a little bit of dosage, a little bit of sugar, but just
Hmm.
a little bit to enhance the minerality, the freshness of this Chardonnay. And so in this case, we have 7 grams per liter for those
Okay.
who
Not bad.
know. That's the
Not bad.
residual.
Great.
So I love Chardonnay wines and I love Blanc de Blanc because it's perfect for gastronomy. You can
Hmm.
have them, of course, for aperitif. Why not? But of course, it's great to match them with the products coming from the sea and
Perfect.
oysters and cheese and so many things. It's good to try different things. Poultry,
Absolutely, and I think also here in the US, I've seen more people feeling free to pair champagne with more casual foods,
of
whether
course,
it's French fries or
French
fried
fries.
fish.
Yeah,
And, it just goes
yeah.
very well with those types of things also.
Sometimes raw vegetables.
Yes.
We want to mix it with to pair it with red radishes. You know the very
Ah,
small red radishes, they are
okay.
like very bit of I don't know how you say, but it's has a special taste, and that matches
Okay.
perfectly
Oh, I
with
have
this
to
Chardonnay
try
wines.
that. Well,
Try that.
the nose is very enticing. Like you said, their minerality pops out. There's a little bit of nuttiness. I think this spends about 4 to 5 years on the lees, correct?
48 months.
48 months. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, normal in Champagne for a non-vintage wine, it's 15 months, which is
So you go
the
much
minimum.
further.
And we kept longer because we think that these wines need to be in the cellar before releasing a little bit more. So for the wine to be like more rounded, to start developing itself and to develop all these aromas that we feel on the nose, but then you feel on the mouth also
Yeah.
on palate.
Okay.
You feel the crispy fruit.
That was my first crisp, crunchy, lively,
Yeah,
vibrant.
and then the freshness. What we say freshness is the acidity that comes with a little bit of the salinity touch at the end of you feel that in your tongue normally, and that's interesting, and that's very characteristic from these wines from Côte de Blanc.
And the finish is quite long. It
Mm.
lingers. It's very nice.
And obviously, it's important to respect the way you serve your champagne, and
Hmm.
more for these Chardonnay wines because you want to keep the aromas. you want to feel the nose. The experience needs to start with your nose. And so this kind of white wine glasses, it's perfect. It's better than flute. Flute is
Yeah,
more casual. Sometimes it's good for aperitif and when you are in a
exactly.
party mood, and it's practical, and it keeps the maybe the cold part of the wine. But then if you want to keep the aromas, it's better this kind of shape for me.
I know. I'm so glad you mentioned that. I had an experience about 2 years ago. I went out, took a friend to brunch and ordered champagne by the glass and asked for a regular white wine glass. And the waiter said to me, no.
No way.
I said, excuse me? And so we went back and forth a little and I got the glass that I wanted. But I explained to him, flutes are lovely if you just want to have a toast. It's just a moment. I said, but for the aromas and the taste, you
Yeah.
really want more room in the glass. So hopefully I taught that young man something.
Some, this idea is what we need to change, but I think with talking and explaining why, and of course the temperature is important too. Sometimes we in some countries we serve the wine very cold, like very glacé, and that's not frappé as we say. That's not good for the wine because the aromas
Exactly.
start coming when the wine start going up in temperature. So it's important not to or to open the bottle before and leave it open 10 minutes, 15
Hmm.
minutes for a non-vintage, and that will allow the wine to open up and develops, and all the aromas and the temperature goes down a little bit more, and then that's always better for the
Great.
service.
I love that you're giving all of these great tips on how to drink champagne. Very,
Hmm.
very important. You know what?
So,
This is dangerous because I'm supposed to be tasting, but I veered into drinking because it's very
yes.
delicious.
So for you, it's noon right now.
It's
It's
noon.
yeah.
I just
Okay.
finished breakfast maybe 90 minutes ago and I've moved on to champagne.
We say that the Delamotte champagnes are good for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I love it.
Every moment of the day, and they are champagnes that are easily to approach in a way. You don't need to know much about wines, and you don't need to be intellectual about the wine. You just need to feel and try to find the wine that the champagne that it suits your palate that you prefer in a way.
I
So that's good
agree.
to taste and taste.
Yeah. And what's lovely about this one, it's round, but it's not over the top. It's not
Hmm.
austere. It has a certain, lushness to it, but it's very balanced. It just
Yeah,
really hits that kind of sweet spot in terms of the roundness of it, the mouthfeel. It's really
that's true.
quite
That's true.
lovely.
Which is that's what I said before about the sometimes when they are too young, they are difficult for some people to taste because it could be like harsh and
Hmm.
difficult to feel all these aromas. But now that I have it in my glass for a moment, I feel also the white flowers that
Yeah.
comes also.
Hmm.
I don't know if you feel the same, but it's the bouquet. It's great, and
Yeah.
that's why we love Chardonnay.
I love it. Well, I think we should talk about your rosé now. I'm very excited. I'll show the bottle again. So this is the non-vintage rosé. Retails for 105.99, and it's 80% Pinot Noir and 20% Chardonnay, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's interesting at Delamotte that we have a very simple range with all these fourth cuvée. And so
Hmm.
people can start from the Brut and then go in upscale, going through the Blanc de Blanc and then Blanc de Blanc Vintage and then the Rosé. And you can try all this range with a very simple
It's
approach.
wonderful.
So I think that's important for people not to have too many information. Sometimes the labels are quite complicated and
True.
they have lots of information that you don't need. You need to try, and so it's that's important for us. So the rosé, it's when you see this rosé,
Yeah.
I
My
think
glass is a little cold. I
yeah,
apologize.
but
I opened
the
it about
no, it's
28
good.
minutes ago, but
No, it's good. It's good. It has to be. But it's it's the color. It's different from a regular rosé.
yeah.
Sometimes we are accustomed to have like more lighter colors,
Hmm.
and so this is why we are very proud of our rosé, and it only represents, we produce every year more or less 40,000 bottles, which is not
Oh,
a
okay.
lot, small production, because we use the traditional method to produce the rosé. I don't know if people know, but the Champagne appellation allows producers, winemakers, to blend white wine with the red wine, of course, coming from the Champagne region,
Of
and
course.
then so you can blend these two wines and create your rosé wine uh, with your expectation in color, aromas, and all the things, all the basics from the wine. But in our case, we call the method saigner, which is bleeding method.
Leading.
We put
Hmm.
the Pinot Noir grapes and the Chardonnay grapes together, and we let the juice with the skin get in contact, and so that's the color that gives to the wine. So we don't pay attention too much to the color, but just to the aromas that we want to obtain
Okay.
and the structure that we want to have in this wine. And that's why the color is like salmon
Yeah, it's like a
with
salmon. Yeah, it's very rich. Yeah, kind of. I like a little
with
drama
like
with the color.
with like a very golden reflects something.
Yeah, a
It's
little coppery
interesting. It's
almost. Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
So I'm curious, the
And
Chardonnay
so
grapes that go into the rosé, are those sourced from different plots than the Chardonnay that would go into your Blanc de Blanc?
only Le Menil, only
Okay,
Menil grapes. So the same that we use with Salon, and
got it. Okay.
that's important. So all this minerality, all these chalky soil grapes, all these special grapes from Le Menil are here, and you feel that on your nose from the beginning. Even though it's 20% of the blend,
Hmm.
it's there. You feel that they are present, and that gives to the wine all this freshness and all this um, uh, it's pure also, it's clear, I want, sometimes I want to say it's clean wine. That's very important for Delamotte. They are all clean wines with not oxidated notes, no, nothing that is gonna change in your palate or in your glass.
Wonderful. Okay.
So for we use only Grand Cru villages on this cuvée. So Le Mesnil for the Chardonnay, and then for Pinot Noir, there are three villages Grand Cru, which is Tours-sur-Marne, Ambonnay, and Boussy.
Okay.
And so all the three of them are very well known for Pinot Noir, and they are Grand Cru also. So that gives this complexity to the wine. It's you feel that it's not a simple rosé wine. It has like something more.
Absolutely. I think sometimes rosé is produced more just for the color, and
Hmm.
people neglect the complexity of the wine. But this is eye-catching, but also hasn't neglected, like you said, champagne first and foremost is a wine. And in a
Yeah,
wine, you don't want it to be one-dimensional, right? You want it to kind of take you on a journey.
of
So
course.
yeah,
It's
even
a
with the first sip.
experience. And sometimes people they think about rosé wines during summertime, on a party, special moments like this and it's not true because you can match this kind of rosé for a meal. You can even have, I think, a beef with this kind of
Beef,
rosé,
yeah.
of
I was
course,
going to ask
poultry.
you, have you ever had this
Yeah,
with an asado?
I had this with asado. I had this with a burger last week, and it was very good, very good.
Absolutely. And, also a great match for like a roast chicken this time of year. A lot of us are roasting chicken, or
Mm,
of course,
mm.
beautiful with salmon would be fabulous. So very versatile food wine.
How is the weather for you today?
I think we have a blizzard coming tomorrow.
Okay,
So every other day we have a snowstorm.
okay.
What about you?
So now it's mild today, and we had like very cold week last week, a little bit of snow also, which is very rare for Paris. and then this week it's like better.
So where's
We
the
never
first
know.
place, once we're all able to travel again, what's the first place you want to go and crack open a bottle of Delamotte with some friends or colleagues?
I think I will love to have people coming to Le Mesnil in Champagne
Ah, okay.
again, because that's great to share. When we used to have people, we are not open to public, but
Okay.
we decided to open to public last summer because people were staying in Europe, in France, and so they were asking if they could come. So we opened 1 month, and it was great. And normally we open to professionals and to people, chefs or people working in the wine business, and so we love that. We love to have people coming, discuss around the wines,
Of
share
course.
share the passion, show people our land, our houses, and so I think the first place I want to go and open bottle with people, it's at Le Mesnil, and then start traveling. And of course, US for me will be probably the first destination.
Great. So I know today we tasted two. There's a fuller range of wines available in the US, just to let people know.
Yes,
We have the four available, correct?
the four available, and also the Delamotte collection range that I told you before. I think I have one. Sorry, it's this label. It's
Ah,
gold,
okay.
so it's
Lovely.
metallic label, and so it's they are special disgorgement, and they are late disgorgement. And now we are having 1999, 2002, and 2004. So they
Great.
are available in US also.
Ah,
So
very
that's
exciting.
interesting if you want to taste old vintages, and for a good price also, which is important. So please try to go into the Vineyard Brands site, and you'll discover where to find the closest to you place to
Wonderful.
find these wines.
Well, I have to say, truly, this was my very first time ever sipping Delamotte, and they're lovely. Really
Okay.
expressive, classic, beautiful, lush, but not over the top. I mean, as you can see, I've just been sipping.
It's good.
So,
It's a perfect way to discover and to have the experience of wines. Of course,
yeah,
you need to taste, not to drink a lot, but just tasting, you feel if it's good to your palate and it suits you, and that's good. I'm
yeah.
glad that you like it.
Yes. Yeah, the beauty of the fruit is just really vibrant, very the
Hmm.
freshness along with
Hmm.
those other more complex flavors.
And,
Really
and of
nice
course,
stuff.
And of course, it's interesting to say some people know the Salon Maison, which is more confidential. We have
Okay.
very tiny production. When it's a beautiful year, we have no more than 60,000 bottles for the
Oh,
world.
wow.
So very small. 100% Chardonnay coming from Le Mesnil-sur-Rocher also. And they are special vintages, only vintages. There's only one cuvée. And the last one that we released is 2008, and so these are wine gastronomy wines, and it's only for special occasions. But
Wow.
you need to know, and you can find them through Vineyard Brands in the US, of course.
Fascinating. Well, thank you so much for your time taking this little champagne ooh la la break. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Wanda. Thank you for sharing your time with your friends, and
And I'll
I
show
hope
the
to have
bottles
you.
again for everyone. This is what you're looking for.
I
Delavant.
hope to have you soon at Le Mesnil.
Yes, I hope so as well. I can't wait to start traveling again. So would love to
Yeah.
visit.
Thank you
Well,
very
thank you,
much.
Christian. Stay safe.
Thank you, Wanda. You too.
Ciao.
You
Thank
too.
you, Vineyard
Have a
Brands.
good
Thank
have a good
you.
day.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.